Welcome back. So as promised, I did the video on the kid line the other day, and then I was looking at Busher Jackson and his career while I was doing that video, and I was like, that's an interesting video all in and of itself. One of the best left wingers of his time, and obviously almost a century ago now. It's interesting to look back that far, see how much shorter the seasons were, and he was one of the best players on a Toronto Maple Leafs team that won a Stanley Cup with him there. And eventually there was a messy breakup between Jackson and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I do wonder, like, if this had happened now, how things might have been different. So, Busher Jackson, talented left winger, talented forward by all accounts. 1929-1930, he signed as a free agent on December 6th. Now remember, at this point in time, if you sign as a free agent with a team, you might be signing when you're in your mid-20s. Players started their careers in their 30s. And you were basically owned. There was no, well, we got to renegotiate, or else I'm going to go somewhere else. No. You were owned. The NHL had to fight really hard. It is interesting to me that the Ted Lindsay Award exists when the NHL fought so hard against Ted Lindsay when he was trying to unionize the players. So his first year, Busher Jackson's first year, 1929-1930, 32 games, 12 goals, 6 assists, 18 points, which is good for the time. So if you're wondering, is that good? Yeah, it's pretty good. 1930-31 season, 43 games, 18 goals, 13 assists, 31 points. Remember, it's a little over half of what we see for a season now. 18 goals would rate out to about 36 goals now, right? Playoffs, he makes his debut, just plays the 2 games for Toronto. 1931-32, 48 games, 28 goals, which was third in the NHL, 25 assists, which was also third in the NHL. His 53-point season was first. So this is when you got the kid line going with Joe Primo and Charlie Conacher, and this was a great line. Charlie Conacher, the first superstar the Toronto Maple Leafs had, and for Busher, in the playoffs, 7 games, 5 goals, 2 assists, 7 points. That's all it takes to win the Stanley Cup, 7 games. So the problem the Toronto Maple Leafs have now is there's more than one round. So the Stanley Cup, I'm kidding. Stanley Cup, and he's a first-team All-Star. 1932-33, 48 games, 27 goals, which was second in the NHL. 17 assists, 44 points, which is second in the NHL. In the playoffs, 9 games played, 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points, and he's a second-team All-Star. So Toronto is still doing well in the playoffs. He's one of the best All-Star players in the league. But at this point, we're already hearing a lot about his lifestyle. So hockey players weren't paid anywhere near what they are now, of course. And the scale of pay for hockey players went up substantially when the WHA came in, which I've talked about in previous historical videos. Really, the WHA and their contract to Bobby Hull is what made the NHL extremely angry and led to a lot of dislike. But what Busher Jackson was doing was he was living like he was getting paid like that. And he enjoyed that lifestyle, and he enjoyed a few drinks here and there, right? No harm in that, but once you do that too much, then it becomes a bit of a distraction. So this is going on while he's one of the best star players in the league. So 33-34, plays 38 games, 20 goals, which was 6th in the league, 18 assists, which is 10th, 38 points, which is 7th. So point per game in the playoffs, just the 1 goal in 5 games. He is a first-team All-Star again, best left winger in the league 2 out of 3 years. 1934-35, he keeps on that run. 42 games, 22 goals, which was 3rd in the NHL, 22 assists, 44 points, which is 5th. In the playoffs, 7 games, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. He is a first-team All-Star again. So there's no doubt that at this point in history, he is the best left winger in the game, right? 3 out of 4 years, he has been awarded the best left winger in the game, which is noteworthy, and we'll come back to it. 35-36, 47 games, and his totals take a nosedive. 11 goals, 11 assists, 22 points. In the playoffs, 9 games played, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. So his numbers take a big dive, but they come back the year after. 36-37, he plays 46 games, 21 goals, which was 4th, 19 assists, which is 9th, 40 points, which is 5th overall in the National Hockey League. In the playoffs, 2 games, 1 goal, and he's a first-team All-Star again. So that's not bad. 4 out of 6 years, he's been declared the best left winger in the game. This in and of itself could get you into the Hall of Fame. Then you add a Stanley Cup. You add that he was number 1 in points in the league in 1932. There wasn't an Art Ross trophy at this point, he would have won it if that was there. So there's a lot of reasons to look at him as a Hall of Famer. 37, 38, 48 games. His totals drop a bit. 17 goals, 17 assists, 34 points. He's not top 10 in the NHL. He wouldn't get back into the top 10 after that. In 6 playoff games, just the 1 goal. 1938-39, 42 games played, 10 goals, 17 assists, 27 points. So now we're seeing the lowest goal scoring from him that we've seen, right? 7 games and 1 assist. The Toronto Maple Leafs feel that he's more of a distraction now. And so there's discussions about his off-ice issues. He would get divorced twice, which of course now if a player's divorced twice, we don't even blink about it. But back then, he's been divorced twice. He can't keep a marriage together. Just imagine if that was one of the reasons why, well, what do you expect us to do? He's divorced. So May 18th, I should say, of 1939, easy for me to say, he was traded with a lot of players. Murray Armstrong, Buzz Ball, Buzzboll. That's a great name. Might need a career video on that guy just for the name alone, because people will be like, Shannon made up a name again. It's that Burger Diggins thing. Jimmy Fowler, Doc Romnes went with him as well. So that's a lot of players. In exchange, they get back Sweeney Shriner. So all those players for one player. It turned out to be a pretty good move for Toronto, in that Sweeney Shriner would become a Hall of Famer, and he won Stanley Cups in Toronto in 1942 and 1945. Now, Busher Jackson being sent to the New York Americans. The New York Americans were a team that had its share of turmoil as well. I'm going to have to do a video soon, I think, on the New York Americans, because it's an interesting story. I know I talked about them when I did the year-by-year history videos, which was now 4 years ago. I did double-check that today. Because again, as I get into the summer, I get into more of the historical stuff and where the game came from. And because I think it's important to know where the game came from and compare it to where it is and see where the game's advanced and where it hasn't. Now, that first year with the Americans, 43 games, 12 goals, 8 assists, 20 points. 3 playoff games, just the 1 assist. He did play another year with the New York Americans, 1940-41, 46 games, 8 goals, 18 assists, 26 points. Things aren't getting better. He's not getting control of his demons. He's trying to. He's trying to get control of his personal demons. I went through a few different articles and write-ups on him. He tried to get control of all of it. But he ends up on January 4th of 1942 being traded to the Boston Bruins for cash. New York Americans send him off to Boston. And Boston, not the juggernaut that they would be once Bobby Orr gets there many, many years later. 27 games played that first season in Boston, 5 goals, 7 assists, 12 points. In the playoffs, 5 games played, 1 assist. 42-43, he had a bounce-back year. 44 games, 19 goals, 15 assists, 34 points. Again, respectable for that era. In the playoffs, 9 games played, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. The 43-44 season, which would be his last year, 42 games, 11 goals, 21 assists, 32 points. So his totals aren't bad. 636 games played, 241 goals, 234 assists, 475 points. And in the playoffs, 71 games, 18 goals, 12 assists, 30 points. Now, upon his retirement, he has a lot of problems, and he has injuries. He would have an epileptic seizure, which took place in his life after he had fallen down a flight of stairs and broke his neck, which took him 18 months to come back from. And he lost feeling and function of one of his hands when that took place. I think it was his right hand was what I was reading. And so a lot of issues for the poor guy. And again, we can have the debate about when somebody has a drinking problem and they have personal problems, whether it's their fault or it's not. The thing is, the apparatus that we have in place now to help people wouldn't have been there and nearly as robust, and odds are everybody would just push it back on him, including Conn Smythe and the Hockey Hall of Fame Committee. The Hockey Hall of Fame Committee flat out blocked him getting into the Hall. There was no chance of him getting into the Hall, even though Joe Primo, Charlie Conacher, they get in. Other Toronto Maple Leafs that he played with, other Toronto Maple Leafs he was better than, got into the Hall of Fame. And Conn Smythe was the one that said, I am not allowing him to get into the Hall of Fame. So 1971, the committee finally says, you know what, it's been enough time. He had died in 1966. 5 years after he died, the Hall of Fame committee finally says, look, we've got to put him in. And Conn Smythe was so ticked about it, he resigned his place in the Hockey Hall of Fame committee. The thing is that, again, he struggled after his retirement. He tried to continue that lifestyle. He liked that lifestyle. He liked the lavish lifestyle. He enjoyed going out and partying. And he didn't have the money for it. So he was reportedly selling broken hockey sticks to hockey fans, broken hockey sticks of Toronto Maple Leafs players behind Maple Leaf Gardens. And it's just sad, right? Here's a guy who's one of the most talented goal scorers, arguably the best left winger of the 1930s. And by the mid-1940s, he is just, it's like he's got the scarlet letter and nobody wants to go anywhere near him. And it really is a shame, because the NHL, rather than trying to help the player who was going through all of these personal struggles, just further excommunicates him and decides he doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, even though what he did on the ice was fantastic. And again, drinking, partying, a marriage falling apart. I think if we held hockey players now by that standard, you'd see a lot of guys not in the Hall of Fame that belong there. So it is a different time. I thought this would be an interesting career video to do, a little different than my normal career video. And I think it's one that's interesting because he is a Hall of Fame player. And sadly, his own personal demons likely influenced some of these numbers here. Although, again, you're getting into the later years of anybody's career, you're going to see numbers drop a bit. But there you go. The career of Busher Jackson. And again, I love the name. I think that's a great name. And I think it's an absolute, I think it's criminal that he wasn't allowed in the Hall of Fame until 1971 when he died in 1966. He should have been in before he passed on. And it was his son that gave the acceptance at the Hall of Fame and all of that fun stuff while Conn Smythe was out of there, done. I am going to do a Conn Smythe video as well soon. There's a lot, though, with Conn Smythe. He was in the league for a long time, and he was really fully entwined in the league, and there's a lot to get through. So that's going to be a pretty big video, but I wanted to do this first. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.